Balthasar Gelt breaks camp, still looking for his victory of legendary status that will prove that he is still worthy to be the Supreme Patriarch once this war is over. He has nightmares of what will happen to him should he be disposed as the head of the Order. He has his eyes set on a Norscan force. His soldiers will be outnumbered. His soldiers are wounded, freezing from their long march through the wastelands. But a victory here would open the path on forward for a renewed army of the Emperor to march against Krakadrak and shatter this fortress, this power base of Archaon, the last one close to Kislev, that would cement Kislev as a bastion of peace again, because they would no longer have too much of a threat nearby anymore.
Ulrich's will!
Gelt knows that he is taking a risk by continuing to push his tattered army forward. But victories, continued victories without pause, will keep the forces of chaos on their back foot and really break open this war in the favor of the Empire, in the favor of Kislev, and be able to finally put an end to the threat. Balthasar Gelt doesn't want to be terribly aggressive in this fight. With his wounded soldiers, he needs to make sure to maximize every advantage he has, and at the end of the day, it will be coming down to his magics and how many enemies he can take down with it. That will be the deciding factor. The cannons do try to take down the great mammoth that the enemy lord is riding upon. They keep getting some nice hits in. It really is the greatest threat in this battle, and if it can be taken down, it would be all the easier to rout the rest. Battle is joined. The cannon continues to try to shoot at the mammoth. Our missile soldiers do their best to hold the right flank, and cavalry charges around to do a complete flank and around to the backs. Mammoth does panic and start to flee, but can't get out and ultimately falls to the combined might of the infantry, demigryph knights, and crossbows. Balthasar Gelt is pleased and hopes that he can have the resounding victory that he is looking for. The Norskins are in full flight, allowing Balthasar Gelt to continue to push forward with his wearied soldiers. But the aggression will not go unrewarded if he can continue to move forward at speed and continue to win victories for the Empire. Hello and welcome. This is Fireside Improv, chapter 40 of this Karl Franz saga. With the victory of Balthasar Gelt, the pathway is open now to continue to push along to Drak. The Emperor is still resting and recuperating his strength, but with the victories of Gelt, he won't have to go and come back in order to replenish. They will be able to push right on ahead without stopping, which is beneficial, especially since part of Kislev has been reclaimed. It will soon be returned to the Ice Queen as soon as some of these armies are cleaned up. So let's see what the Ice Queen has in store. Archaon does send one of his minions to go down and take Nagenhof, which is easily taken, and they do decide to settle it instead of raising it this time, which will actually allow a swift counterattack. With Nagenhof taken, Gustav is able to march towards it, but can't quite reach it in order to take it back immediately. It's the Dwarven force that has marched down as well. The Emperor hopes, upon reading his reports, that those dwarves will not try to settle anything. It's just another settlement where they will have to be slaughtered in. He really doesn't want to kill dwarves, but he will in order to get them out of the Empire. But the fewer there are, the better. In Kislev, Zoishenk has been put under siege. They are able to force their way out and destroy Harold's army. One fewer army left in this part of Kislev.
I will marshal the men.
Eldred marches out to deal with some Siegean demons that have come forward. They too are easily dispatched.
So? It is war.
And he turns his attention down towards another force. Kans marches out to try to take it as well, but it does flee.
By the comet.
But they hope that they do have it somewhat trapped in.
Ready to serve. Ever vigilant. My journey begins.
To the provinces.
Many of the forces have been dealt with. There is still too many stragglers in order to fully feel confident of returning the settlements to Kislev.
Protector of the weak.
But it will happen soon. Meanwhile, Ralph continues to fill up his army in Castle Tempelhof in order to join the fight.
The Empire. No peace, just war. I shall be victor.
Balthasar Gelt did get a little bit greedy, although not quite greedy per se. More bold. And one of his loyal followers does fall in this frozen wasteland. His force is getting smaller and smaller, but he insists that he has to continue pushing forward. Some of his soldiers do start whispering in camp if he has lost his mind, not even taking a moment to grieve for his fallen comrade that followed him so far so loyally. Only time will tell if he has in fact turned to madness, or if he is perhaps just fearful.
Bring me to my men.
The Emperor does need a little bit more time before marching out, but he will soon be able to join the path forward as well. Kagan decides to meet Gustav, which was a mistake on his front, and his host is defeated outside of Nagenhof, which now means that this part is now devoid of enemy forces, and they can march straight ahead. And Nagenhof is easily
I will marshal
taken
the band.
back.
Yes.
Kurt is brought up at Beckhofen to help settle some of these settlements that have been raised. The armies themselves want to be able to push on, but they do need to jump on these, especially before the dwarves can get to them.
Battle wizard magic.
Ralph's army is just about ready to push out, just waiting on a little more cavalry. Valmir decides he also wants to play hero and goes immediately out to challenge one of the hosts, which he does wind up dispatching quite easily.
What? Yes. Yes, a sound plan.
Your word is my command.
And Kantz marches.
I will not obey.
To battle. The Empire. Absolutely not.
Wants to march towards the enemy host, but apparently it is a little bit funky where it is.
True servant of
They have
Sigmar.
found a little pocket of chaos that cannot be reached. So they will maintain their positions to try to prevent them from escaping. Meanwhile, the Emperor does decide it is time for him to
I see
out.
no other option.
Krakadrak needs to
Onwards!
fall.
It is time.
Balthasar Gelt goes to the Winter Pyre to raise it. Settlement by settlement are getting raised. Path ahead is right there, right within their grasp. And it would be one of the final pieces to ensuring that Kislev remains safe. If only the Tsarina herself would come out and help a little bit. But it is fair that she doesn't want to lose her final stronghold. The Norskin army and its leader apparently heard of the arrival of Kurt in the city of Beckhofen, and although it was marching back north into Kislev, it decided to turn back around to challenge Kurt. Who knows why Kurt is so important that they would turn around, but they did. And so,
Ready.
Gustav, instead of pushing
To strengthen
straight
the
up,
Empire.
is again going back to
Let us
Beckefin,
move.
back and forth. But fortunately, that should be the last time, as Ralph's army is also ready to march up. They will be able to join in the war very soon.
The nation calls.
And
Let us move.
Volmir pushes towards Fort Ostrisk with his own depleted forces. But as is being learned, speed is of the essence. More enemy armies will simply come forward if they are too slow.
What does the Emperor bid?
Wherever this Chaos Force had been hiding, they are not hiding anymore.
To war!
And Eldred does track them down like mice and slaughters them.
It is time. It is for the best.
I will do anything for Sigmar.
And with that dealt with, it frees up Cons to move on forward to deal with the last army before being able to return the settlements to Tsarina, Catcher.
The Empire.
And
I
up in
am
the
Franz.
far
They will
north,
obey.
the Emperor continues his
As
march
is my right by
towards
Sigmar's crown.
Krakadrak.
Do not waste my potential.
He asks Balthasar Gelt to follow
Move.
right alongside him. They are almost there. They simply need to retain enough soldiers for the assault. The Norskins do launch their assault. Poor Kurt is killed. Why he got targeted for this, no one knows. But he was, and now he's dead. They don't even take the settlement. They just wanted to kill Kurt. What did he ever do to them? Archaon the Ever-Chosen has made another appearance here in Norska, protecting the pathway to Krakadrak, knowing the importance of the strongholds, and setting the stage for perhaps the final duel between the Emperor of Man and the Lord of the
us begin.
supposed end times that isn't looking
you
very
say, sir.
end-timey right now.
Yes, to unite the province. Yes. I am the Supreme Patriarch. Men, war calls!
The Emperor wastes no time in flying right out to take on the second in command of Archaon. Archaon himself tries to swoop around in order to flank a little bit, but the Emperor is prepared for this potential situation. The reinforcements of the Grand Patriarch do arrive. They try to join the battle quickly before too many casualties are gotten by the Emperor. The Emperor does take down the second in command of Archaon and flies back to the air looking for the Lord of the End Times himself. The Lord of the End Time is tied up by the Demigryph Knights of the Empire. Not that they can do too much about him, but they do buy time for the Emperor to arrive and duel him. The fight is an absolute mess as small skirmishes are happening everywhere. The Empire does manage to partially surround the enemy forces at this particular location, but elsewhere there is a little bit more of a struggle. The Emperor actually gets overwhelmed by Archaon and has to take to the skies to escape him. While the rest of the Chaos Army isn't looking so good, how they are going to deal with Archaon when not even the Great Emperor is able to do much about him. The Empire is doing its best to hit Archaon with their ranged soldiers, crossbows, handgunners, reducing his armor, reducing his abilities. He does seem to have finally realized that he is the only one left on the field and does run, potentially surrendering Krakadrak in the process. Despite a victory, many lives were lost, and the Emperor himself is barely managing to keep up with the army. He's seen hobbling around camp. He could probably not even take on one of his regular rank-and-file soldiers in the condition that he's currently in. So he decides that they don't have much of a choice but to try to find a place to make camp.
Ulric's will! This action does not have my consent.
And recuperate their forces. They identify the nearby settlements, not too nearby, but closest there is, of the defeated Troll King as a potential outpost to then launch a renewed attack on Krakadrak.
Champion of the faith.
Down in Kislev, it is pretty much time to start giving territory back to the Ice Queen.
Yes, a sound plan.
Valmir takes Fort Ostrosk as another prize to return. There are no more threats in this part of Kislev, and so it will now be returned.
It is our responsibility to vanquish evil.
And so the settlements has been returned to the Tsarina to rule once again. It's not the entirety of Kislev, but it is a start, a step in the right direction in order to then continue to push out into the eastern parts of Kislev, which can then be reclaimed and returned as well.